This man, known as Gang Pei, is the second in command of the Songnam gang. Growing up in the world of crime, he's long become a cold-blooded killer, known for his ruthless efficiency and zero tolerance for loose ends. Ever since Boss Beck ended up in prison, Gang Pei has been handling all the gang's affairs, big and small.
회장님 돈 가지고 장난치지 마.
죄송합니다.
당신은 성우개발 관리하고 난 당신 관리야. 잊지 마.
In his rare moments of free time, he enjoys watching serious action films at the theater. He's even dreamed of being the main character in a movie, portraying the real Underworld. One night, Gang Pei and his men went to a bar to unwind. That's when one of his men mentioned that Gang Pei's favorite action star, Suta, was in the private room next door. Intrigued, Gang Pei sent his man to ask Suta for an autograph, but before a drink could be finished, the man returned empty-handed, having been turned down.
형님 직접 오시라는데.
Instead of being offended, Gang Pei became even more curious about Suta. He sent another underling to make a second attempt.
사인 좀 해주셔.
당신이 내 팬이요?
나는 아니고.
아, 그럼 직접 오라고 해요. 다리가 없나?
The tense scene caught the attention of everyone in the private room. Suta's assistant, sensing trouble, urged him to leave before things escalated. But Suta, confident in his reputation as a top action star, brushed off the warning. Even if a few gangsters show up, I can handle them, he boasted. When Gang Pei realized both his men had been rejected, he decided to meet this Suta in person.
사인 한잔 부탁합시다.
이름이
강패라고.
방패? 깡패가 아니고?
왜? 이름이 이상해?
나중에 자식들한테 창피하지 않겠어?
입 조심하지. 형님이 너한테 농담 좀 했다고 겁없이 까불지 마.
With just one icy glare, he silenced his talkative underling completely. The room froze under Gang Pei's undeniable authority. Breaking the tension, Gang Pei spoke in a tone that was calm yet cutting. Real gangsters don't act like the ones in your movies, he said, a faint smirk on his face. Stop pretending your roles are real life and quit this tough guy act. Gang Pei's sharp words struck a nerve, leaving Suta visibly irritated and rattled. Unlike Suta, Gang Pei wasn't fazed by petty emotions. In his eyes, someone as small-minded as Suta wouldn't survive a single night in the real underworld. Suta had no idea he had just come face-to-face with a real gangster. Out of loyalty, one of Gang Pei's men tried to teach Suta a lesson on his behalf. But Gang Pei stopped him in his tracks and then scolded them both harshly. To Gang Pei, a boss who couldn't control his men looked weak and small-minded in the eyes of others. For him, taking action without orders was an insult to his authority. Suta, standing nearby, froze in shock as he witnessed Gang Pei ruthlessly discipline his subordinates. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Both he and the director were completely stunned, finally realizing they were standing before a real gangster boss. In an unexpected move, Gang Pei handed Suta a check to cover the medical expenses of his assistant. When Suta hesitated, doubting that a gangster's check would be valid, Gang Pei scribbled his phone number on it and shoved it into Suta's pocket before leaving. Outside the club, Gang Pei apologized to his loyal man, explaining why he had to be so firm. Having followed Gang Pei for years, the subordinate understood his boss's ways without the need for many words. Meanwhile, the trial date for Boss Beck was fast approaching. To ensure everything was in place, Gang Pei brought cash and paid a visit to Chairman Park, a sworn brother of Boss Beck, hoping he could intervene and resolve the legal issues. Had it not been for his loyalty to Beck, Gang Pei would have gladly thrown the smug Chairman Park into the sea to feed the fish. But for now, he had to swallow his pride and endure the humiliation. On the other side of town, at Suta's filming set, the actor was still stewing over last night's confrontation, adding fuel to the fire. His co-star, the second male lead, kept testing his patience. Finally, Suta snapped. In a fit of rage, he turned a staged fight into a real one, viciously beating his co-star.
당연한 거 몰라. 적당히 하는 게 그렇게 어려워?
The incident landed the second lead in the hospital and sparked a media storm. Despite Suta's public apology, his actions were unforgivable in the eyes of the industry. The controversy brought the movie's production to a standstill, as no one wanted to work with him anymore. Cornered and out of options, Suta's thoughts turned to the check in his pocket, the one with Gangpei's phone number on it. Then a wild idea struck him. What if he brought a real gangster into his movie and acted opposite him? At first, Gangpei refused Suta's proposal. He wasn't interested in choreographed fight scenes where punches are thrown without impact. He wanted raw, one-on-one, authentic brawls. As Gangpei prepared to leave, Suta blurted out the truth, revealing his desperate situation. Unexpectedly, Gangpei showed interest. He agreed to join the crew but laid out his own conditions for becoming a part of it.
액션 장면 진짜로 하자고. 몸 조심해라, 태성아.
Gangpei's first scene on set was nothing short of explosive. His presence radiated the raw intensity of a real gangster, leaving everyone, including his own men, brimming with pride. Even the director couldn't stop singing his praises, but the director's admiration didn't sit well with Suta, whose envy quickly boiled over. Defeated in acting, Suta saw the action scenes as his chance to reclaim some dignity. However, when he squared off against Gangpei, the latter's sheer aura of menace made him freeze in place. Suta had planned to outshine Gangpei in the fight sequence, but now he couldn't even throw a punch. The director, watching the scene unfold, could clearly see that Suta was terrified of Gangpei. Unforgiving when it came to acting, Gangpei didn't hold back, delivering a performance that left Suta humiliated. Still, Suta's pride wouldn't let him back down. He spat out some cocky remarks, trying to save face.
우리 같은 진짜 건달은 쓰레기 소리 듣고 흉내도 제대로 못 내는 니들은 주인공 소리 듣고 웃기지 않아?
Gangpei's response was sharp and cutting, a brutal reflection of the harsh realities of society. As the days of filming went on, Gangpei's performances continued to astonish everyone. He began to enjoy the craft, relishing the thrill of bringing a character to life in front of the camera. For a moment, he thought he might finally achieve his dream of starring in a movie, but the weight of his role as the second-in-command of the gang soon pulled him back to reality. Trouble arose when Chairman Park, Boss Beck's sworn brother, stole the gang's ledger, a move designed to keep Boss Beck imprisoned for life. Naturally, Gangpei couldn't let this slide.
사장 어디 있어?
After dealing out some harsh lessons, he recovered the ledgers and burned them all to ashes. However, to retrieve the evidence, Gangpei had made a deal with Chairman Park to let him go unscathed. By the unspoken rules of the Underworld, someone like Chairman Park should be eliminated to prevent future problems. But Gangpei, a man of his word and principles, couldn't bring himself to break his promise. After much deliberation, he made a choice he would regret for the rest of his life. He spared Chairman Park, ordering him to leave and never return. With Chairman Park's glasses in hand, Gangpei returned to Boss Beck in prison to report his progress. Even his subordinates knew the harsh truth: if you don't root out the weeds, they'll grow back stronger with the spring breeze. During his time on the film set, Gangpei began to change. He started to show signs of compassion and mercy, traits he had never allowed himself before. He was no longer the decisive and ruthless man who never hesitated to finish what he started. But for someone in the underworld, showing compassion is a sure way to bring about their own downfall. It wasn't long before Gangpei learned that Chairman Park hadn't fled as promised. Instead, he boldly reappeared on Gangpei's turf. As it turned out, showing integrity to a scoundrel only ended up hurting himself. Gangpei's leniency deeply disappointed Boss Beck, causing him to lose all trust in Gangpei. Worse still, Gangpei's mercy didn't just harm him, it cost the life of one of his closest men. Watching his loyal subordinate die right before his eyes, Gangpei, as a leader, would never let the killer of his man go unpunished. At that moment, he realized the dream of becoming a movie star no longer suited someone like him. He had no choice but to abandon his aspirations and return to the harsh reality of the gang life. However, with the film close to wrapping, Gangpei's sudden departure from the set infuriated Suta, who saw it as an act of betrayal.
영화하고 현실하고 뭐 못해?
A beating from Gangpei's men quickly brought Suta back to reality, making him understand the stark difference between movies and the brutal truths of real life. Soon after, Gangpei and his men confronted Chairman Park in a parking lot. This time, Gangpei was determined to eliminate him for good. But Gangpei didn't anticipate being betrayed by his own people. Even so, Chairman Park didn't kill Gangpei after capturing him. Instead, he extended an offer, inviting Gangpei to work under him. Gangpei, of course, refused to compromise with someone as dishonorable as Chairman Park. In a surprising twist, Chairman Park, impressed by Gangpei's resolve, decided to let him live. But by this time, Gangpei's loyal men had all been wiped out by Chairman Park. Gangpei had lost everything. Killing him now would serve no purpose. 2 days later, Gangpei returned to the film set. Before he dealt with Chairman Park for good, he was determined to finish his dream of becoming an actor. Gangpei knew from the moment Chairman Park let him walk away that his position in the gang was gone. He had lost all respect, along with his dignity. He could have easily used his acting skills to carve out a career in the entertainment industry, but his pride wouldn't allow him to let things end like this. After completing the final scene of the film, Gangpei made up his mind to reclaim his lost honor and prove, through action, that the brothers who had followed him hadn't died in vain. Sensing something was off, Suta followed Gangpei from the film set. Unsure of what was happening, still clueless, Suta thought Gangpei was just caught up in the high of filming. Little did he know, he was about to witness what a real gangster looked like.
제가 들겠습니다.
Through his ruthless actions, Gangpei gave Suta a brutal lesson on the true nature of the underworld. He showed him just how cruel the life of a gangster could be. As Gangpei sat in the back of a police car, he suddenly smashed the window, his face smeared with blood, his laughter unhinged. Turning to Suta, he shouted his final words, a haunting message that blurred the lines between his two worlds. Fate is fate. A movie is just a movie.